We have a Donald Trump that is in complete and total meltdown. He wasted all of last week with the Republican Party attacking a guy in Joe Biden who is no longer his opponent. He's now the oldest presidential candidate in American history, running against a younger, smarter, more energetic Kamala Harris, who has secured the delegates she needs to be the Democratic nominee. He is regretting the choice of J.D. Vance.
We've endorsed JP, right? J.D. Mandel.
J.D. Vance showing himself to be awkward, not funny, a weird laugh, which is what they're attaching to Kamala Harris, unable to connect with people in any real way. And this was brought to the surface in stark contrast to Kamala Harris's recent public event in Middletown, Ohio. Here is J.D. Vance with some giga cringe. If you're allergic to cringe, tune away from this because it's bad, suggesting that they, I guess he means the left, will call his consumption of Mountain Dew racist.
It is the weirdest thing to me. Democrats say that it is racist to believe, well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday and one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but it's good. I love you guys.
Yeah. But that should be a Kamala Harris campaign ad. It doesn't really need anything else. Just like, this is what you want? Do you want this guy? And even the friendly crowd kind of like, ooh, I don't know about this. I'm really not sure. They are, of course, pushing the line that Joe Biden dropping out is an attack on democracy. Now, last week they said, when you call something an attack on democracy, you're inciting violence. Calling Trump a threat to democracy is what instigated the shooting against Trump, despite the fact that the shooters are Republican. Doesn't make any sense. And here is J.D. Vance saying Biden dropping out is an attack on democracy, even though you may recall J.D. Vance said if he were vice president in January of 2021, he would not have certified the 2020 election, which is, of course, the real threat to democracy. J.D. Vance is not good at this. And reports from inside MAGA are that they are very concerned with J.D. Vance's presence on the campaign trail.
Is going on in this country is absolutely disgraceful. Let me get a little philosophical here. I imagine most of you did not vote for Joe Biden. And if you did, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. But if you want to run for president, you've got to make your case to voters. You make your case to voters. That's what President Trump did, even though he would have already been the president. And even though he was by far the most popular person in the Republican Party, he ran for the Republican presidential nomination. He faced some good competition, and he made his case to voters. The idea of selecting the Democrat Party's nominee because George Soros and Barack Obama and a couple of elite Democrats got in a smoke-filled room and decided to throw Joe.
There's always a rich Jewish man behind the scenes somewhere. All paths lead back to that.
Biden overboard. That is not how it works. That is a threat to democracy, not the Republican Party, which is fighting for democracy.
You know, I highly doubt whether he really had a Diet Mountain Dew because those have a fair bit of caffeine. And I can't imagine that J.D. Vance would be this low energy. Now, if you want to make the argument that there are undemocratic things going on, we can, of course, deal with that head on. I do think there is a question, and I brought this up months ago. Would Democratic voters be resentful if they vote for Biden in a primary? It's a half-baked primary. When you have an incumbent, you don't really have a primary, much like Republicans didn't in 2020. Would Democratic voters rather be resentful that the ones that voted in the primary voted for Biden, and then Biden's not the nominee and it's somebody else? It's a very fair question. Absolutely fair question. I think it is significantly mitigated as a question, number one, in evidence of the number of dollars that is pouring in for Kamala Harris. You don't get record money pouring in if people are resentful of your candidacy. That's number one. And then number two, people voted for the Biden-Harris ticket. And so to some degree, it's not some random governor that's being injected as the Democratic nominee. It is Kamala Harris who is part of the ticket. So I think it's quite mitigated. But if you want to make this argument, you also can't ignore that in 2020, Republicans didn't even have a primary. Was it democratic in that sense not to allow Republicans to truly have a say as to whether they wanted Donald Trump running for re-election? So needless to say, these are rhetorical arguments. I don't think they're very strong, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere. Now, J.D. Vance also sort of following Trump's lead, telling a bunch of lies during his rally in Ohio yesterday, including lying that Trump opposed the Iraq war. As you know, and as we've said many times, we've played the video, Donald Trump said to Howard Stern that he would have gone into Iraq. But here's J.D. Vance just lying about it.
And in 2003, and look, it was a Republicans and Democrats. A lot of people supported this. I'm not just beating up on the other side. But right. In 2003, we went to war in Iraq. And remember, it was supposed to be just a few weeks, and then everything would be over. And I was an 18-year-old kid. I supported it, and I was wrong. And you know who was right? President Donald J. Trump. He knew. He somehow knew, even though he was a real estate developer in New York, that this thing would become a quagmire.
Yeah, of course, that's not true at all. Trump, after the fact, started to pretend that he had always been against the Iraq war. But you can find the clips on my channel. You can find it online. Trump making it clear to Howard Stern that he would indeed have gone into Iraq. And then finally, this speech went so terribly, that even Fox News cut away. This was meant to be J.D. Vance's big coming out party where he was going to charm the crowd with his charisma and jokes and everything. It didn't go well. And Fox News making the call to cut away early.
Actually swimming at the swimming pool, and somebody brought over their phone and showed me the news that Joe Biden had.
All right, you've been listening to J.D. Vance giving his first solo speech since becoming Donald Trump's running mate. 9 days after the attempted assassination of the former president, a packed crowd there in his hometown, in his high school. John, a remarkable moment.
Yeah, really, it's so remarkable that we're cutting away. An absolutely terrible candidate, J.D. Vance, and reports that Trump is furious that he is now stuck with a guy who seems to be unable to do anything to help Trump, particularly in this new context where it is Kamala Harris, not Joe Biden, that Trump will likely be up against. Let me know what you think. info@davidpakman.com, and make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/The David Pakman Show. Magic Spoon has been sponsoring the David Pakman Show for years now because my audience just can't get enough, and here's why. Magic Spoon has reinvented our favorite childhood cereals to taste great, but with 0 grams of sugar, 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net carbs. It's a high-protein, keto-friendly way to relive those Saturday mornings with your favorite cartoons, but with only 140 calories a serving and without all the sugar. My favorite flavor is maple waffle. I grew up in New England, okay, but it also comes in familiar flavors like cocoa, fruity, frosted. You can also check out Magic Spoon treats, which are sort of like the marshmallow treats you had as a kid, but only 1 gram of sugar, 1 to 2 net carbs, and packed with 12 grams of protein. Magic Spoon treats are the perfect on-the-go snack. They come in 4 great flavors: marshmallow, chocolatey peanut butter, blueberry muffin, and double chocolate. Go to magicspoon.com/Pakman to try Magic Spoon cereal and treats for yourself. Get $5 off with the code Pakman. The link is down below.